All right, let's do it, man. Todd Husak, one of our faves. Todd listens. He sends in comments on Twitter and always enjoy on our DMs and he tells stories back and forth. Little League tales. He's had a kid go through it now. Actually, I think his kid's in high school now. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into the football team, 49ers, Titans tonight, and what we're looking for. What can we get out of tonight, 5 o'clock kick? Todd will be there on our pre and post on the leader. So, Todd Husak, welcome back to your boys, Murph and MarKus. Happy football season, dude. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Todd?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Looking forward to kickoff tonight. I will be there at Levi's. I'm doing pre and post for all home games again this year. And
Nice.
Figured you guys would want to know. I'm out walking my dog this morning, a little after 6 o'clock. My neighbor saw me. He pulls over to stop and talk a little Stanford football. He rolls down the window. He's got you guys on.
Nice.
So you got some listeners here in West Menlo Park.
So that listener was not the usher from the ballpark yesterday that I told you.
Definitely
No,
not.
he would have been a little nicer. No.
Oh, man, you guys talked a little Stanford ball. All right, I like it. All right, Todd. So let's just say, number one thing you are looking at tonight.
It's tough. We're all excited about football, but we'll see who actually ends up playing. I think Curtis Rourke has a chance to show up. We haven't seen much of him in preseason, really any of him, and so a chance for him to show what he can do and maybe solidify that third spot behind Brock and Mac. I'll be surprised if we see much of Mac. I mean, he was so valuable last year. It's really how the coaches balance risk of injury versus upside, and I think you want to see more of the younger guys get a chance to play. A lot of the bubble guys, whether it's starters or roster guys. And unfortunately, I would have loved to see Kalen Black today, and I think he has a chance to be the best backup they've had under Shanahan and behind McCaffrey. We'll have to wait a little bit, but I think there's some Watkins. Can Jordan Watkins step up and make some plays? The practice I've seen, he just hasn't. He's got a lot of opportunities in practice. He just hasn't been that guy that can make the plays down the field. We'll see if maybe he can step up on game day. So there's a handful of guys on the offensive side that you want to see something from. Again, how much of the starter is going to play? There's still that left guard spot that I think is a big battle this preseason, and who ends up there on week one in Melbourne. And then on the defensive side, we saw it last year with so many injuries that young secondary didn't get much of a chance to play together. Do we see a little bit more of that first unit, or that maybe those guys fighting for spots, whether it's starters or backups? And it's a chance for these guys to make plays, right? We've seen they've gone through a few weeks of camp. Lights are on. They're going to watch the tape, and not just for the Niners, but maybe other teams around the league. Who shows up when those lights come on? And so it's always exciting. Every team's undefeated, so a chance for all fans to have some hope. And I think Bay Area fans need a little bit of that right now, because Giants, Warriors, Sharks are on the way up, but the Niners have a chance to do something special, I think, this year.
Yeah, Todd, I'm on the same page as you. Looking forward to seeing some of the younger players tonight. And let's start with the wide receiver room. You mentioned Jacob Cowan, Jordan Watkins, but everybody wants to see Dajon Stribling. How much do you think he's going to play tonight? And even outside of just tonight's performance, what have you seen from him throughout training camp stepping into Kyle Shanahan's offense?
Well, I think he's that guy we talked about Jordan Watkins being that guy who can take the top off the defense, the 4.3 speed, the ability to get down the field, which the 49ers lacked badly last year. And Stribling he looks like that guy. Strong hands, big wingspan. I think what he's been really impressive with is his body control and the ability to make plays in traffic, right? Go up and high point it, out jump the defensive back. Mike Evans has made a career off of that, a Hall of Fame career. So I think it's a great opportunity for Stribling to learn from somebody like that. But he looks like that guy that can win over the middle, those 15-yard routes that Brock Purdy is literally the best in the NFL at completing. He can separate. He's quick, but more so he's big and strong, and I think can use that body to create that separation at the last minute. And you can just some guys you can watch, and you're like, that guy has it. He has that. There's just this quality, whether it's body control or separation, just that quickness and then the ability to high point it and catch it in traffic, not get alligator arms. He seems to have all those little traits that, frankly, we'd love to see from Cowan and we'd love to see from Watkins. They just, number one, haven't stayed healthy enough to do it consistently. And number two, when they have had chances, haven't really made those plays. So Stribling looks like a guy who's trending to be one of those top three wide receivers for, I think, a new look 49er passing game with some of the additions that they've made in the offseason. Again, I would have loved to have seen Christian Kirk and how he's assimilates into this offense, and is there a spot for him? We haven't seen any of him in camp. So that means there's opportunities for other young guys to step up. And Stribling, I think, has made the most of his chance this camp because he's been the talk of the camp with his athletic ability, understanding of the offense, and I think that'll be a weapon that, frankly, Shanahan hasn't had much of in his time calling plays with the 49ers.
Yeah, it's all very true. Todd Husak, the voice you hear, as you're listening to KNBR AM and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus Media Station, 3 o'clock pregame, more 49er talk, 5 o'clock kickoff. Actual game, 49ers Titans should be fun just to see some reps and some red and gold on the grass. Following up on Stribling, because he definitely has won the summer so far. But there's that nagging thought of Kyle doesn't like rookies. Kyle doesn't like rookies. You look it up. Deebo Samuel as a rookie, 57 catches, 802 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also carried the ball for 159 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And then Brandon Aiyuk, 60 catches, 748 yards, 5 touchdowns in 12 games. So those are 2 examples of rookie receivers who had pretty good seasons. Now, would you say Stribling should kind of shoot for that kind of production, or would we even say the sky's the limit and he can eclipse that?
I think he has the ability to eclipse it, not just because of his ability and the way Shanahan has grown as a play caller. I think rookie wide receivers historically have not done much in the NFL coming out of the gates. I think the last few years we've seen the development of the wide receiver position where they're more NFL ready year one. And that's frankly we see it in the draft. These guys are premium weapons on offense when you can find a guy that can come in and do things early in their careers. I would expect Stribling, if you're looking at it at the end of the year, how does it project? I think you got Mike Evans, you got Deebo, and you have Stribling right now, the healthy guys. How do the 200 completions get distributed amongst those guys? I would expect them to be kind of in that 60 range, and if anything above that would be big time. And I think Mike Evans has that big playability, but Stribling could be that guy that opens up the offense, not just for himself by running by people, the catch and run the ability, the yak opportunity. I think he has that big play kind of strike where they have needed that. They way too many 12, 15 play drives last year that thankfully finished in the end zone. But the 49ers, if they can find that 4-play drive for a touchdown and stretch a defense, that makes Christian McCaffrey's job easier. That makes Tonzis' job easier. Everybody's going to be a little more open. Run game's going to be a little more open, and certainly the other wide receivers. So all of a sudden now, a defensive coordinator, who do they look to stop? I think everything focused on McCaffrey last year, which is why he didn't have those big explosive plays. And a big part of that was they didn't have anybody who could push those safeties back. So they're going to be 7 yards deep. And when the ball snapped, they can come up and stop the run. So everything should work together if it goes well, if guys stay healthy, big if with the 49ers. But I think for him, but everybody else should benefit from his ability. If he can show up early in the season and be that guy, I think we're going to see a different 49ers offense than we've seen the last few years.
Todd, there hasn't been a lot of open competition for starting spots on the 49ers roster throughout training camp, but one of those spots is left guard. You mentioned it earlier. So going into tonight, do you expect to see Robert Jones, Connor Colby, Carver Willis, all those guys get opportunities at left guard? And do you have a favorite between the 3 of who potentially could be that week 1 starter?
Well, I think that the frustrating part is Colby was the guy. He came in with, I think, full confidence, and I don't know if it's a step backwards, but there's been talk that he has reverted back to some of the mistakes he was making last year, which they've got to be better at that spot. We saw it in the last 2 games against the Seahawks. They've got to be better on that interior, the center, 2 guard positions. So all of a sudden, that opens up the competition. Again, I'm not sure how much we're going to see tonight of that starting offensive line. I think it's more critical in practice when that unit works together, when you're next to Trent Williams and the rest of the offensive line. How do they sort through their calls? How are they getting off the ball? All of those working together. But you could see all 3 of those guys compete tonight. And how do they do in one-on-one matchups? Are they firing off the ball in the run game? Can they set their feet and protect? Can they pass off blitzes and stunts? So I'd love to see Colby solidify it. But if he keeps taking that step backwards, that's got to be a position that they figure out, because especially in division, with the Rams getting better up front, with the Seahawks coming back off the Super Bowl, and they haven't lost many pieces up front, so they're going to be tough to stop. Can they get solid at that position? I think you're right. That's one of the big question marks, and there's only a few weeks left to figure it out.
Todd Husak, the voice you hear, he's going to be on our pre and post all season long. Looking forward to 49er football, man. He's right. I mean, other than the Sharks' possibilities to have a really good season, the Bay Area needs some love, and hopefully the 49ers will give it to us. I'm looking at Yahoo Sports this morning, and they have a chart from about the NFL preseason and QB1s. As if in our lifetime, Todd, 2000. What year were you in the league? Were you in the league in 2000? Was it
drafted in 2000?
Yeah,
a couple picks behind Tom Brady.
The number of that's awesome. And the number of the percentage of preseason quarterback snaps by QB1 in 2000 was 32.9, and the number of QB1 snaps in preseason last year was 9.8. Do you like this trend?
Well, I think it's way more important to keep the QBs healthy right now, because you look at the teams that have had success regular season playoffs, it's been teams with a healthy, really top-tier quarterback. And so you lose a guy like that, your chances of winning. I think there used to be not as big of a drop-off between QB1 and QB2, where now that's a huge chasm. And so keeping those guys healthy, it makes sense. It's funny, I go back to when I was a rookie, Norv Turner, it was me, Brad Johnson, and Jeff George. And I loved it because Jeff George said, I don't go in with the backups. So Brad Johnson would take his couple series, and then it was me for 3 quarters. So I got a lot of work. So I appreciated Jeff's generosity in that one. But I think there is, I talked about it earlier, it's such a balance between, are these guys ready? And I think the veterans, guys who have been in the league for 4 or 5 years, and certainly some of the older guys don't need that preseason work. And it's more critical to get some of those young guys under fire. Can they handle it? So all of those things, and also it wasn't just quarterbacks. All of the starters played, right? I mean, I go back to I think week 3 of the preseason when there were 4 when I was younger guy. That first offense would stay in for 3 quarters, and so that all of that has changed. I think the preseason has lost some of its value in that regard, but also it's tough to fill out the roster. And there's really a hair difference between that guy that gets cut in that last wave and the guy that makes the team. So getting more of a body of work for those young guys. Also, the preseason rosters are bigger, where I think the final cuts used to be like 7 or 8 guys. So you didn't have a big, deep bench for the preseason. You had to play those starters. So all of those things work together. I'd much rather see quarterbacks be healthy for the regular season because the product is so much better. It gives your team a chance to win and compete versus watching a guy go down in week 2 of the preseason. It's just not worth it.
Todd, last question for me is about the DC change for the 49ers. 5 different defense coordinators in the last 5 seasons. Raheem Morris will be calling the plays tonight. And I know there's not going to be starters out there, but how much do you think we can maybe learn from Raheem Morris's defense and what he wants to do defensively, even without the starters out there throughout preseason?
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, and he's much more DB friendly than maybe previous defensive coordinators in getting these guys to develop and play together. I think the 49ers, they were such a bend but don't break unit last year. They didn't get to the quarterback, worse than the league. They didn't create turnovers, certainly interceptions. I think they were second worst behind the Jets, who had 0. So is it a more attacking defense? Does he feel better about that pass rush in front 7? And with Dre Greenlaw back, do you rush a little bit more? Upton Stout coming off the edge. The only way you can do that is if you trust your corners and safeties in coverage. You're going to expose them a little bit in one-on-one matchups. So can he develop Renardo Green to be? I think has a chance to be a really good player in the NFL. Can he take that step forward after maybe a regression last year? And all of a sudden, if you have that secondary working together, understanding their schemes, understanding body positions, and be more aggressive and create some interceptions, I think that's the philosophy of the defense. Last year, Saleh was okay. Well, he didn't have the personnel necessarily to get to the quarterback, but he'll give up some drives and be stout in the red zone and hold them to 3, where some defensive coordinators like to attack, put guys in 3rd and long, create turnovers, and understand that you might give up a big play here and there. And I think this 49ers team might be better built because of that explosive offense. If you can get them 2 extra possessions with turnovers, can they turn that into 10 or 14 points? And that's how they're going to win some games, where last year it was grind it out on both sides and hope that your offense is good enough in the end to make that 4th quarter drive, or hope that your defense like we saw against the Bears, is able to make that late stop.
Last one for me, Todd, is about a guy who's not going to play tonight, and that's Nick Bosa. I just did a little research here. You played on a 2000 Redskins team that had 37-year-old Bruce Smith. My guy. I love Bruce Smith. 10 sacks that year, by the way, for Bruce Smith at age 37 in 16 games. The leading sacker was a guy named Marco Coleman, 31-year-old, had 12 sacks. But the point is that those guys are both in their 30s, and they're sacking quarterbacks. Nick's 28, and now is plagued by week-to-week tendinitis. I know you didn't play D-line. I know you weren't an edge rusher, but you were around NFL locker rooms and trainers. How serious is this for Nick Bosa in terms of just, I know you don't have the x-rays and the MRIs, but just like what you know of the league, is this sending up a red flag in your brain, or is it something that can be managed and he's going to be elite?
Well, if he's not healthy, that takes away his explosiveness and the ability off the edge. He can still be an edge setter in the run game because he's so strong and plays low and has great hands. But if he lacks that explosiveness, that get off that allows him to get to the quarterback, I'm more concerned about that. I'd rather him be healthy, take some time and be healthy and 100%. Maybe it's fewer plays, but they need that MVP, Nick Bosa, or Defensive Player of the Year versus a guy at 75% who's just not as effective. So I think it is a concern coming off another knee injury and having problems this preseason. They need the Nick Bosa from 3 years ago and not the guy that can't stay healthy. And when he is healthy, he's not much of a playmaker. He's just not as effective as he once was. Can he still be a good player? Of course. But I think it's a big year for him. He's already proven he is one of the best in the league when healthy. We need him healthy. The 49ers need him healthy so that defensive unit can work together, get to the quarterback way more, and he's such an integral piece. So it's tough in another preseason with so many injuries, and he's such a cog, not just from a playmaker standpoint, but a leadership standpoint. I mean, they lost Bosa and Warner last year. Credit to that solid staff and keeping that group together, but they need somebody up front who can kind of set the pace and become that defensive front, that front seven that is fierce, because last year they were not. So I'm hopeful that he can come back healthy and be 100%. And if he has to miss some time, so be it. But I'd like to see 100% Nick Bosa and back to the player that he once was.
Good breakdown. Awesome. Loved it. And we'll listen to more 3 to 5. And then the post game where we just talk football, man. 49 football back in our lives. Todd Husak will be on the coverage at 3 o'clock. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate your neighbor who listens. Yes?
Yeah, I love it. I got one, best punter I played with, Tom Tupa.
Tommy Tupa. I remember that guy. Yeah, I do. I do remember Tupa.
Best part about him, he was also the backup quarterback.
Yes. Dude,
he played quarterback at Ohio State, I think. And so that guy threw, I want to say, I got to go back through, but I bet he threw 7 or 8 touchdowns in his NFL career. So,
I was looking at 49er punters, because MarKus asked me, because we were talking about the punter situation, which we didn't talk about with you. It's they cut Jack Bomeister, who was supposed to be the guy with the giant leg, the Australian kid, and they went with Corliss Waitman. We'll see how that goes tonight. But he threw it at me, and I was like, man, I forgot Jim Miller, the barefooted guy from the 81 team, and then Max Runniger was mid-'80s, and then Barry Helton a little bit in the late 80s, early 90s. But then I was looking at 49 punters all the time, and you know who it was from 46 to 52? It was Frankie Albert, Stanford's own, and he was the quarterback. So there you go. Quarterback punters is a tradition.
Tom Tupa kept it alive.
Frankie, you probably saw Frankie Albert's picture in the locker room down there, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
a legend.
There. Yeah, well, you did the same thing he did, buddy. Hey, by the way, August 29, Stanford, Hawaii. Let's go. Stanford, Hawaii.
I'm ready. But I got a bigger one. UCLA Cal, week 1.
Bro,
boy,
tell me about it. Are you kidding me? I've already,
those
Rivera.
2 teams are on the move.
2 teams with 2 charismatic young head coaches who are getting a lot of love from their fan bases right now. So it's going to be I just hate that it's a freaking night game at 7:30. God's play in the afternoon at Strawberry Canyon on a Memorial. Did you play a big game at night when you were there, or did you play them in the day?
No, all during the day.
Yes. Saturday afternoon, walking up the campus, or the farm on a Saturday afternoon. I hate it. 7:30 kick in Berkeley's bunk, man.
By the way, walking onto the field in the sunshine and walking off with roses in our mouth in '99.
That's pretty good there, buddy. That's a good day. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Take care. Give your dog a belly scratch for us, and we'll talk soon. All right,
yeah, thanks, Todd.
Sounds good, guys.
Todd Husak doing some good stuff covering the 49ers for us. Let's react to all that and get ready for more 49er football on the other side. Matt Mayoko at 7:50 on the Sports Leader.